Hello, welcome to Strategy. This series is entitled Your Brand Strategy in a Crisis. This is episode 4, and today we're discussing how to stay true to your brand values while dealing with a crisis. And listen, sometimes you may have to pivot the message. If you have time today, we'll get into that. But today we're focusing on staying true to your brand values while you're dealing with a crisis. Hello, I'm Dr. M. Stolard, Entrepreneurial Strategist, helping cultivate brand clarity for community organizations and those that want to create social impact. And we do this through strategy. So you get an unexpected call. You realize it's been about 3 months without making a sale, or an important person within your organization has left unexpectedly. You didn't see it coming. Or the marketing campaign that you released or that your team released is doing the exact opposite of what you and your team had hoped. You may be in a brand crisis. Now, if that's the case, you must stay true to your brand values. That's the most important thing. You must stay true to your brand's values, right? In a brand crisis, it's important to stay true to your organization's core values. Now check this out. Even if you need to pivot your message, okay? Even if you need to pivot your message. And this can be complicated, but we'll get into it. So first, what are your organization's values? Do you have any? If not, let me help you, right? There are at least 12 of the most common core values for any organization. Doesn't matter if it's for-profit or nonprofit, community organization, right? I'm going to give them to you. So you can pick one, you can pick two, you can pick three that best fits your brand, your organization, the one that represents you best. Now, my word of thumb, my advice when I talk to my clients would be not to pick more than three. Not to pick more than three. Okay? So you have 12 core values. If you got a pen and paper, write these down. I'm going to go through them quickly. Right? So 12, these are the most common core action values, right? When it comes to your organization. And this is what you want to stay true to when you're in the middle of a crisis, right? When you're creating your brand strategy, when you're implementing your brand strategy for execution in the middle of the crisis, or you're having to make an adjustment to the already existing brand strategy, you want to know what your core value is so you can stay true to that. So number one is authenticity. All right, you want to be authentic. You're going to hear me say that a lot throughout this series. Authenticity is key. Integrity, right? That's honesty. That's reliability. Be humble. Okay? So number one is authenticity. Number two is integrity. Number three is awareness. Right? Awareness. Right? Awareness. Show some empathy of what's going on. Not just to your clients and your customers, but the people who are working with you. People who work for you. Right? Show some empathy. Perseverance, right? Perseverance. It's another one. Toughness, right? Perseverance, being able to kind of get through it. Another core value that's important is purpose, right? You hear that term a lot. What is the purpose? All right? Intentionality, right? Selflessness. That's all purpose, all one. Okay? Courage, right? Some people talk about courage, being courageous, right? Encouraging, or maybe you're the coaching business and their job is to help you to be courageous. That's one of the core values, right? Transformation. You hear that a lot too within coaching. Vision, right? Vision. That's also another word. Would that be like imagination, right? The focus, right? So we have authenticity, we have integrity, we have awareness, we have perseverance, we have purpose, we have courage, we have vision, right? These are the 12 most common core values. Another one is faith, right? Faith may be the basis of your organization's core value. That's super important, especially in community-related organizations. I've consulted with churches and stuff before. I've served on church ministries, and one of the key things that I have to commend them on is they know they want to stay true to their faith. Whatever decisions they have to make, good, bad, or indifferent, they want to stay true to their faith, right? Enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm or energy. All right, humor. That's all kind of under the same umbrella. All right, enthusiasm. Number 11 is service. All right, maybe you want to be a service-minded organization, charity. compassion, right? These are all kind of under the same umbrella, but if you're a community-based organization, if you're a person who wants to create social impact, then, service might be at your core value. Helpfulness, charity, compassion. Number 12, leadership. Leadership, right? Leadership is a common one. Encouragement, right? Expectations. So core values of your organization are necessary because they guide the decision making during the times of crisis. They help you as leadership. They help you whether you're the CEO or the marketing manager or the VP of marketing to guide the decisions that have to be made during times of crisis, right? Okay. You should also take a look at your mission. What is the mission of your organization, right? Have you established one? If not, you should do that pretty quickly. Right? No, if your company's core value is quality, then it's important for you and your team to take action against any product or service that does not meet this standard, right? So any actions you're going to take place, you want to make sure you're looking at something that does not meet the standard of quality. That might be part of why you're in a crisis. Maybe you took your eyes off the ball. Maybe you work at a restaurant or you own a restaurant and you brought some food that you knew wasn't of good quality and now people are sick. That's a crisis, right? Why was that decision made? For your brand's values to be effective in a crisis situation, the brand's values have to be known by your staff members, by your volunteers, your stakeholders, right? And they need to know this ahead of time. And so that everyone knows what is to be expected when dealing with the customers, external stakeholders, with the media, if that's what's going on, your social media, right? Everyone should know what the brand's core values are ahead of time, right? It's difficult to try to get it when you're in the middle of a crisis, and if that's what you have to do, then that's what you have to do. But everyone should know what the core values are. Now, if you have your brand value, if you have already established your brand's values, if you know what your 3 essential values are for your organization, for your community organization, for your nonprofit organization, then great, you're ahead of the game. But then you need to revisit it. You need to revisit it, right? You need to make sure you revisit it. Again, we're talking about how to stay true to your brand's values in the middle of a crisis, right? And the first thing you have to do is understand what your core values are. If you don't have any, you need to establish them. If you do have some, you need to revisit them, right? Again, take the time to review your organization's mission. What's the vision, short and long term? What are the core values, right? What are the core values? And make sure your organization's messaging and the actions, right, are aligned with these values. Okay? Number 2, second thing I'm going to tell you is communicate with clarity and conciseness, right? Make sure when you're communicating with clarity and conciseness, right? One of my areas of strengths is that I help organizations with their messaging, right? But help them to really understand the clarity so they can articulate in a more clarifying manner what it is they do, what kind of services they provide to their customers, what's the benefit of working with them, right? So make sure you're communicating clarity and conciseness when you're in times of a crisis, right? When you're in times of a crisis. Again, we're just talking about staying true to your brand's values inside a brand crisis. So communication is necessary in the middle of a crisis. We know that, right? You can't just go ghost. You can't just disappear, right? This also goes for your stakeholders, your staff, your volunteers, your donors, right? The community itself. You want to make sure you're staying in contact with all of them, right? Keep them informed of any changes to your organization, to your services, and there's sometimes that things have to be adjusted on the fly, right? You're doing this particular service, but that's not going to work anymore. You released a particular product, but that's not going to change right now, especially right now, right? So keep them informed, any changes to your programs and services, and let them know how your organization is responding to the crisis. Again, let them know how your organization is responding to the crisis. Now, the third thing, and I didn't have it numbered when I thought about this, but that's fine. This would be like the third most important thing. It's necessary that you're transparent. It's necessary that you're transparent. Again, we're talking about your brand strategy in a crisis. That's a series that we're on, right? So we're talking about it's important to stay true to your organization's brand values, right? So the third thing you want to be aware of when it comes to that, how to stay true to your organization's brand value, is to be transparent, right? It's necessary you're transparent. Honesty and transparency are key during a crisis. We're talking about in the middle of a crisis, not just the normal day-to-day stuff. You want to be honest anyway, right? But you want to make sure you are articulating what's, not enough to that's going to ruin the company, but enough so that everyone understands what's going on. What's the expectation, right? Make sure you communicate openly and honestly with your audience, right? Make sure you're talking to them openly and honestly, and you're transparent. The more transparent you are, right, that doesn't hurt your organization, the more trust builds with the people you serve, with your clients, your customers, right? Right? And not only your trust builds, but your credibility builds as well, right? Your credibility builds as well, right? When you're in the middle of a crisis, this is how you determine if you're going to have long-lasting customers or not, right? This is how you determine if you have long-lasting customers. There's a lot of during the pandemic, a lot of business coaches and so forth that kind of blew up because people had to change up what they were doing. So they were talking to people who are already kind of in the quote-unquote social media space or online business space, and people were having to jump into that quickly. They had built enough credibility so people felt comfortable reaching out to them, right? So number 3, it's necessary that you're transparent, right? Honesty, transparency are key during a crisis. Make sure you communicate openly and honestly with your audience. The more transparent you are, right, understand that it builds trust with you and your organization. With your organization to your customers, the people you serve, right? It also helps to increase your credibility. Now, your organization plays a very necessary role, right? You give to the community, right? You provide needs and necessities to the community, to the people you serve. So in times of crisis, a community organization, you must stay true to your brand's values to maintain its reputation and continue to serve effectively. This also means putting the needs of the community first over yours, and I'm going to say within reason, right? You don't want to do something that's going to basically throw out the country, that's going to make the organization fail, right? But you do want to create an environment where the customers feel like they're being taken care of, right? And remember that. But my advice to you is to, make sure that your organization is internally good. And the reason why I say this is because the example I would give to you is, remember on a plane, the flight attendant tells you, right, if you want to be the most helpful, you have to put the mask over your face first. You want to put the mask over your face first. So, put the mask over your face first. So in the midst of a global pandemic, a lot of businesses were forced to pivot and adapt to their strategies in order to stay afloat, right? This is for community organizations, nonprofit organizations, right? For-profit ones, right? One organization in particular remained steadfast in their commitment to their brand's values and in the face of the crisis, right? So the organization we're discussing was a small family-owned bakery. They had been in business for over 50 years. The brand was built on the principles and the quality of authenticity and of community, and they sourced their ingredients locally and using traditional baking methods. They had a loyal customer base that spanned, generations. And this is beneficial because they weren't just doing the new stuff, shoving the pies and the cakes and the other stuff all quickly, all willy-nilly, right? They used traditional baking methods, which was made, obviously, things taste better. When the pandemic hit, the bakery was forced to deal with a particular challenge, as a lot of businesses were. They had to close their doors to in-person customers and pivot to a delivery-only model. And I remember hearing about this. Not this particular bakery, but there's a lot of restaurants that had to go to a delivery-only model, you know? But instead of sacrificing their brand values in order to survive, they doubled down on them, right? They made sure to continue to source the ingredients where? From local farms and suppliers, right? Even if that meant paying more. Even if that meant paying more, right? This is part of the brand strategy, right? This is part of a brand strategy. Your brand strategy says, hey, you know what, part of your brand, right? A strategy is a specific plan of action, and a brand is the reputation, right? So a specific plan of action to maintain the reputation. So if you're a bakery and you use local products and the pandemic hits, chances are it's probably more cost effective to go to a totally different resource base, right? But this organization, this particular bakery, chose to stay true to the way they've been doing business the entire time. They made sure to get their ingredients from local farms and suppliers and vendors, even if they had to pay more, right? They continue to use this traditional baking methods. So even if that meant longer production time, and that's the thing with traditional baking methods, right? Sometimes you can put them in a more, let's say, modern environment. I'm not the chef. I'm not a baker. I can cook, but but what happens is the pies, the cakes, the bakeries, and so forth are cooked a lot faster. But when you use the traditional baking methods, it takes time, and they continue to do so, right? So they continue the traditional baking methods, even though it meant longer production times. They made that intentional effort to reach out to their community in order to support that they were supporting in any way that they could, right? And part of that is communicating openly and honestly and authentically, saying, hey, you know what, we're still here and we're going to continue to use our local vendors. So they started a program where they could deliver free loaves of bread to elderly, right? And those who were maybe, what's the term, immunocompromised, right? Immunocompromised individuals, those who were not able to leave their homes because they're susceptible to possibly getting sick or really sick, more sick than the average person. They held virtual baking classes for individuals who were stuck at their home and were looking for something fun to do, right? Imagine just being at the house all day. I can imagine how much the internet bandwidth was being used from all over, right? They even partnered with local businesses to create care packages for healthcare workers on the front line. And despite the challenges they were faced, the bakery's commitment to their brands, it paid off, right? The loyal customer base continued to support them, continued to buy bakeries from them, continued to spread the word about their amazing bread that they've been giving out for those who were in need and were hungry, and the good work they were continuing to do in the community. They didn't leave them, right? They didn't leave them. And even as other businesses and organizations struggled to stay afloat, this bakery sales remained steady, right? Steady. So, in short, the bakery emerged from this particular crisis stronger than before. What they realized was that they took care of their customers, they took care of the local community, and so they were able to stay afloat. All right, and by staying true to their brand's values, to their organizational values, they survived. But they didn't just survive, they thrived. All right? So there's an example just to remind all of us that staying true to your brand values is really the best strategy you can ever implement. All right? So that's all we have for today. Let me know. I have a question for you real quick. Do you like it better if I go live? Or do you like the pre-recorded? Or if you're watching this, maybe you're just watching the pre-recorded. You don't know that I've been testing out going live as well. So maybe you have no preference, and that's fine too. So, but I'm Dr. M. Stolard. And remember to keep pushing forward so you can drive your influence and be intentional about using strategy.